I put a spell on you.
Having 57 kids is enough to make anybody scream. You heard right, 57 kids.
Stop the things you do.
Screamin' Jay, born in Cleveland, Ohio, had an amazing career spanning more than 50 years.
I ain't lying.
His raw energy, wild stage antics, and the 1956 novelty hit I Put a Spell on You made him the original king of shock rock.
I can't stand.
But he also had more flings with women than he could remember, and more kids than he could possibly ever meet.
I put a spell on you.
And when he died in February, the search for them began. The search for them began.
Because you're mine, mine, mine. Oh, you're mine.
Hi, this is Dan Huff. I'm busy at the moment. Please leave your name and message, and I'll get back to you as soon as possible. Thank you.
Hi, I'm looking for a Sammy Watkins. My name is Marl Nagolian. I'm with jayskids.com. I would appreciate if he can give me a ring back. My name is Marl Nagolian. I'm Jay's official biographer. I knew him the last few years of his life, and I'm the one leading the search for his children. The first time he told me about the number of children he had, he looked at me and he said, you know, it'd be so great to have them all one day under one roof, find out who they are and what they're doing, and have them all meet. He kind of sat back in his chair and laughed in his little sinister smile. He said, Marl, you do it. And I kind of pretty much took it as a, you know, dying man's wish.
Jay, as a performer, was one of the sexiest performers on that stage you want to see. He knew how to work an audience. He knew how to flirt with women to make them feel like they were the only person on earth, and he was doing the show to them. But actually, he was doing it to every woman in the place.
He would pick out women all night long, and the way he tells it, he had up to 14 women a night.
I would say he's not a very handsome man. He's an attractive man. He's a tall man. But he was an entertainer, and he had $1 million personality. Mr. Hawkins was #1 on the totem pole as a real lover.
She put the whammy on poor me.
When Jay died last year, and we went to his funeral, it was a very sad and depressing affair. And when we returned, it was during that mourning period that we were inspired to set up the website to look for the kids, because none of the children were there. Not one of his children, of all the children he had all over the world, were at the funeral. And that's really what inspired us to put the website together. Basically, I'm hoping when the kids find out the address of the site, they log into it, and the first thing they get when they get into jayskids.com is they get this home front page. We explain that we are looking for all the missing kids that Screaming Jay Hawkins believes he had all over the world. And right here on the front page, they can click right here on submission. And they'll end up right into the submission form. And then they go in and put in the name. And basic information we're looking for is like the city they were born and when they were born and the mother's name. And here's an example of that. Screamin' Jay was playing at the Wiltern Theater. And my mom, Loretta, huge fan, waited outside afterwards. Apparently her and Screamin' Jay hooked it up and made me. Well, the way Jay tells the story is that his mother was stoned out of Washington, D.C. for cavorting with married men. And on a bus going from Washington, D.C. to Cleveland, Ohio is where he was born as he was passing the state line. And that's where he had his first family. So that's pretty much where Jay's story starts, in Cleveland, Ohio.
Hi, my name is Irene Hawkins. I was born December 14th, 1951. My father is Jay Hawkins. He was married to my mother, Anna Mae Vernon. When I hear about all these other children, when I first heard about it, I didn't believe it. And all I could say to myself was, to my father in my mind, if this is true, how could you do something like this? How could you? How dare you? And all that time, he was married to my mother.
What you think is sunshine is just a twinkle in my eye. I got a ring around my finger called the 4th of July. When I get lonesome, a tear falls from my cheek. There's gonna be an ocean in the middle of the week.
It's amazing that although he had children all over the world, that very few of them knew about each other, if any at all, quite honestly. And it's been especially hard for his family in Cleveland to have dealt with the shock of knowing that there's all these other children, since they felt that they were the only ones.
Okay.
Oh, man.
Okay, I can see the house from here. We're coming up on the house. There it is, 2268 East 49th Street. This is where Screamin' Jay lived as a child. This is where he grew up. Me and my sister and brothers were born in this house.
I remember mostly it was me and my oldest sister, Sookie. We had so much fun in that house.
My name is Leanne Hawkins, and everyone calls me Sookie. I was born in Cleveland, Ohio, to Screamin' Jay Hawkins. I am his #1 child. When I first heard it, I didn't believe it. Because I know how my father is. All my life he had us laughing. He had the whole family laughing. But those 57, if my father said that, I wouldn't believe it. I wouldn't. How would you feel if it was your father? How would you feel? It's all in the headlines, and everywhere you go, people pointing at you and say, what number is you? That's what people are doing to me. When they find out who I am, what number are you? 32? 24? Then they start laughing. It's not funny. You're talking about my father. It is not funny.
It was either 1954 or 1955. Me and my sister was sitting on the step. It was the top step. Sookie was here, I was there, my father was in the middle. He looked at Sookie, then he looked at me. And I'll just never forget it, because shortly after that he left. And I guess he was probably thinking, you know, I'm gonna leave, you know, I wish I could take my kids with me.
This is a photo of me and my sister and my brother right here in the front and the other children that we live with. This was the day that my dad left.
My name is Jay Hawkins Jr. I'm Screamin' Jay Hawkins' son, born May 26, 1953.
He went to the store to go get some milk for my mom, and he never came back. He never came back.
When he left, I felt somewhat of a loss because I wanted to, you know, I didn't know him. And I wanted to go with him. And I knew I couldn't, so.
Jay's music career really started taking off in the 50s. He performed with Little Richard, Jerry Lee Lewis, all the major names of that era. And he was a rock star among the finest ones. He was featured by Alan Freed in the very first rock and roll show, and became part of his package tour, which really was going from city to city practically every other night and performing at different venues. And it wasn't the days that we have now where we have entourages and families traveling with you. It was just him and his band. And as he did that and he played in different cities, that's what really created the kind of opportunity for him that, you know, he took advantage of.
Hi, my name is Janice Paris. I was born in 1955 in Philadelphia. My mother's name at that time was Viola Smith. My father's name is Screamin' Jay Hawkins.
You made me love you.
I first met Jay in 1956 in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania at a guest house by the name of Inez on Lombard near West Broad Street. I'm Audrey Sherborne, also known as Leandrel. I am an international exotic dancer. Until his recent death, I had a 44-year passionate relationship with Screamin' Jay. I had just finished high school, it was 1956, and I moved to Philadelphia, starting a career as a dancer and dating Little Richard. It ended up being a triangle. I would be on the road with Richard, and after his shows, we'd go back to the hotel, and there would always be parties. And in these parties, Richard would never permit anyone to touch me sexually, even though there would be sexual parties going on across the room. So I started turning my friskiness towards Jay for satisfaction. And Richard was stimulation, Jay was satisfaction. On stage, Jay was such a flirt.
I put a spell on you.
He had a tendency of scoping out his victims. And by the time he came off that stage, she knew, too.
Because of mine.
He'd take her upstairs for a little bit of sex in between shows, and then he'd come down, do the next show, and he'd go on to the next one. Say 6 shows a day, 7 women. 7, 8 women a day, 7 days a week.
You know you made me love you.
When we set up the website, our website master told us, oh, you know, you might be months before you get 100 hits. Well, we had over 1,000 hits the very first day. We didn't know what happened. And here we were, you know, when we closed the website on October 15th, we had 2,500 submissions. It was an enormous task of just you know, getting the emails, reading them, and then trying to figure out which one's a joke and which one's real and which one deserves a phone call.
Hi, how are you?
How are you? Are you Morgan?
Yes, I am. Hi, I'm Morgan Hunter, born October 25th, 1968. My mother is Willie Mae Brignac, born in Shreveport, Louisiana. I believe I am one of Screamin' Jay's children, and I look forward to meeting the rest of my siblings.
I read that some of the people who signed in on the website, and they're saying weird stuff they shouldn't even have signed on. They just want attention. If they got a chance to be somebody or get something, or they think they're going to get something, why not try it? That's the way I view it.
We have found several siblings throughout the states that are very interested, as you are, to have an opportunity to meet. So we are putting a gathering together.
That would be great. That would be great. I'm anxious. I want to see. I mean, is there someone else that's as tall as I am and my dad?
The meeting with Morgan was a tough one. I didn't really hear anything that gave me the kind of information that I usually get that makes me feel satisfied. I'm here to put a gathering together for his kids. And if somebody submits to being one of his kids, I'm going to invite them to the gathering.
My name is Helen Perez. I was born in Chester, Pennsylvania in 1957. At age 34, I found out Screamin' Jay Hawkins was my father. My mother had met him in Atlantic City.
Mercy!
Screamin' Jay.
Oh!
As Jay tells a story, when he was working in Atlantic City, he would walk up and down the boardwalk, flashing women, and with an advertising sign behind him saying, Herman's Bar starting at 8 o'clock tonight.
I'm the one your mama warned you about.
And that's how he would get a crowd of women in there along with everybody else.
I will leave you no doubt. I'm the coolest man that ever walked this earth. I've been the coolest since the day of my birth.
My name is Deborah Rowe. I was born in Atlantic City, New Jersey, July 4th, 1954. I was 23 years old when I found out that Screaming Jay Hawkins was my father. I first found out who my father was when I walked into Walt's Bar. And my Uncle Eddie asked me, "Do you know who you look like walking in here?" So I said, "No, who?" So he says, "Your father." So he said, "Do you know who your father is?" I said, "Yes, Clinton Rowe." He says, "No." So he asked the question again. So I said, "Yes, Clinton Rowe." He says, "No." So we went through that like 3 different times. And he said, "Have you ever heard of anyone called Screaming Jay Hawkins?" I said, "No, who's that?" He said, "That's your father." I'm like, "My father?" He said, "Yes." I said, "I've never heard of him before." He said, "No one's never mentioned his name?" "No, I've never heard of this man before in my life." I was very shocked. I tried to drink a fifth of Johnny Walker Red. I wanted to get drunk as a doorknob, and nothing happened. I guess because it was on my mind so much that I didn't even feel a drop of that alcohol. I really thought sure that I was Clinton Rowe baby girl, because that's what he thought as well. But it turned out to be something different, which was a shocking thing for him, because he had like 3 mild heart attacks when he found out.
If my father was promiscuous, I believe that. Probably more than 1,000 women. If he was promiscuous with 1,000 women, I still don't believe he got 57 kids. It don't intimidate me. It don't make me feel insecure, because I know who I am. My name is Lee Ann Hawkins. Who are you?
Here's another submission. When I was 12 years old, I was sitting at a truck stop in suburban New Jersey with my mother. I asked her what flavor of ice cream she wanted, and she said, "You are the child of the famed rhythm and blues artist, Screaming Jay Hawkins." Although Jay was performing quite a bit in Atlantic City, he was really traveling all over the United States performing on the package tours. And at the time, he had a girlfriend named Pat Newborn, and he was trying to get away from her. So he caught a flight to Hawaii. And she actually got the air traffic controllers to stop the plane and join him on the plane to Hawaii. So his escape from her to Hawaii didn't really work, because she followed him.
My name is Jack Sion. I'm a retired entrepreneur, and at one time owned as many as 14 nightclubs and cabarets here on the island of Hawaii. I was the first one to bring Mr. Jay Hawkins to paradise.
I put a spell on you.
At that time, his career was taking a slow down on the mainland, where he used to play in New York, Hollywood, Chicago, and all the major cities. He only had one real hit record, and he'd already slipped from concerts to nightclubs. And so he was working in joints in Atlantic City, which at that period in time, Atlantic City had real joints. It wasn't like it is today, a lavish place. So he fit in just perfect in my joints in Honolulu. The budgets were the same. It was one of his old girlfriends that was working for me by the name of Lee Angel. And so she started giving me names of black acts that would love to come here, like Little Richard and Jay Hawkins. And I said, well, okay, let's bring Jay over. But to my surprise and Lee Angel's surprise, he brought a new girlfriend. And I didn't tell her that he was bringing Miss Pat with him. So it was quite a shock to Lee because she was very much in love with Jay.
Pat Newberg was a female Satan. She had a reputation, and she used to love to pick up ladies to party with Jay. Not knowing that I was a friend of Jay, she chose me as a victim. Ended up 5 days later with her being on the side of the bed and Jay and I having fun.
Well, after about 2 weeks, Mr. Hawkins found all these little chickies here. And he was like a fox in the chicken coop with beautiful little Filipino ladies, Chinese ladies, Japanese ladies, Hawaiian ladies. We have gorgeous girls in Hawaii. And he didn't really know that. Or otherwise, he'd have never brought his sandwich to the banquet, right? So he started going out with all these ladies, and Pat felt that she was betrayed.
Pat put a butcher knife, a big butcher knife, in Jay's back trying to kill him. He was cut from his back all the way to the front.
Here in Hawaii, he became a real character. He was a womanizer and a woman lover, and this came across very strong.
My name is Melissa Ahuna. I was born in Honolulu in 6668. I'm 32 years old. I am the daughter of Mary Lou Ahuna. I am Jay's daughter. There is no question. I believe my mother had met Screaming Jay at a concert and enjoyed the music, and I don't know how, some way she found herself backstage and she met the man, and I guess they became good friends, and whatever else happened is why I'm here today. But
that's when he was coming in and out of our lives, in and out. When he first left, and we didn't see him for a while, and then when he had a gig in Cleveland, he would let my mother know. But he got tired of my mother meeting him at the airport or at the train station with the police for child support. All those years, as I'm turning 9, 10, 12, 14, 15, 20, 21, 22, I hated him. Because I felt like my mom and my brothers and sisters were going through stuff we didn't have to go through if he had been there.
I must have been probably between the ages of 1 and 2 years old, and I'm not sure if my mother had read something or if she had talked to somebody, but somehow along the line at that time she found out that he was actually married. My mother came from a really strong Hawaiian Catholic background, and I think she had really strong Catholic, really strong family values. I think she was devastated that she found out that he was actually married to somebody else. And I know a few months later my mother did give birth. My little brother, actually, I really don't know much information about my younger brother. What I do know is that my little brother was given up for adoption. I do believe he was probably born in the year 70 or 71, and his birthday must be in the range of January 20th or 21st, around there.
He would boast that he's got a child in Chicago, and he's got one in Cleveland, and he's got 5 in LA, and he's got 6 in New York. And I often asked him if he ever sent them any money. And he said, that's the mother's problem.
My father traveled a lot. I didn't see him a lot. There's a lot of gaps in my life without him. A lot of gaps in my sister and brother's life without him. So I was staring at the back of his album one day and I was saying, wow, I can make a puppet to look just like that. And I did. He'll never take the place of my father, but when I make him sing my father's songs, it's just like looking at my father singing it because he got all the moves. But the puppet is always here. You know, he's always around.
Here's one from Memphis. One day while Screamin' Jay was singing on Beale Street, my mom was on Beale Street with friends. After hearing him sing, she was taken with Jay. After a night of passion, apparently, my mom returned to Fraser. I was born 9 months later.
I drive a little red sports car, as you plainly can see. Them young girls, I can't keep them away from me. You know Madonna? Well, I saw her yesterday. Had too many women, so I pushed her away.
I'm Robert Duffy. I managed Screamin' Jay Hawkins from 1990 to 1996. I also produced his 3 Bizarre albums and was his confidant. Around late 1990, early 1991, I met Screamin' Jay Hawkins at Club Lingerie in Hollywood. And I saw this old black guy sitting there, and I thought, interesting looking character. And I asked one of the guys, I go, who is that guy over there? He said, that's Screamin' Jay Hawkins. I was like, Screamin' Jay Hawkins? And so I went over and talked to him, and I asked him what he was doing, and he said, well, I'm not doing anything anymore. And I said, why? And he says, nobody wants me. And you know, I was thinking to myself, how could nobody want him? You know, this guy's a legend. I got a call from Jay one day, and he said he wanted to meet me at his office to go over some business. So he gave me the address because I had never been there before. And I came to the address, and it was the Hollywood Cemetery. And he said that he needed to meet with his consultants with me. And one of his consultants was Jane. And so we walked over here, and it was Jane Mansfield, who was of course dead. But he was talking to her spirit. But the problem is, she's not buried here. Never was buried here. But I just didn't have the heart to tell him, this is just a tourist thing. But we made the deal. She must have approved. You want to just rehearse or tape? I was working with Bizarre Records at the time, so we decided to do some records with him.
Tape's rolling. I am the cool, take 1.
Yeah, right.
Take 1,000.
I'm the one your mama warned you about. When you see me, I will leave you no doubt.
There were a few limitations with working with Jay. One, you couldn't get too close to him. You certainly couldn't hug him or shake his hand because he wore stun guns, 2 around each wrist and then 1 around each ankle, because he was afraid. He was very paranoid, very, very paranoid to walk the streets.
How many of those stun guns you got?
Oh, God knows, I done lost track.
You got them on both wrists and both ankles, or what?
No, I don't have, I just have them on one wrist. What do you think I am, a walking electric?
But the biggest problem with working with him was that he started phasing out at around 4 o'clock, and we realized he was taking codeine, a lot of codeine. He would take them on every hour and a half. He would take little pieces of pills, but by 4 o'clock he was just gone, just Gumby.
Somebody laying down there, and they fought all of them.
Jay was actually a very, very lonely guy, and he wanted friends, but true friends, not people through the industry or people that would go to his shows and see him that way. And he called me one day and he said, look, I'm going to move to Paris. And he said, I need to go where people respect me, not look at me the way they do in the United States. And he packed up and left. He just felt like he was useless, like he was a throwaway item.
I am painting in oil. A portrait of a man.
When I was in my 30s, I started forgiving him, but I still didn't want to see him. When I was in my 40s, I started looking for him. I mean, proof. Years of trying to find my father. Years! Somebody at the recording studio told me that my father literally said, your dad lives in Paris now, and he don't want to talk to nobody from Cleveland. I didn't believe it. I said, he gonna tell me to my face. I ain't let nobody else tell me nothing about my father. He's gonna tell me to my face that he don't want to have nothing to do with me, and he don't love me, and I want to hear it. And then I'll leave you alone. But I couldn't find him to do it.
I have a tape that my father sent me approximately 2 weeks before he died. He explains to me that he's very tired. He explains to me that I've been around the world 2 or 3 times. I've slept with the most beautiful women in the world. I've eaten food in the best restaurants in the world. But I'm tired, I'm tired, I'm tired.
As a father, I have a lot to explain that I couldn't put in letters. I met some bad women, and I met some good ones. There's no man in the world can say he's lived as good as I have lived. There's so much you have missed. And that's my fault. I haven't really been the type of father that I've always said if I ever have any children, at least they'll know who their father is, because I never knew my father. I never, ever saw my father. But that's not important. What's important is what I do in my life where my children are concerned. I didn't want to be rotten. I want to be happy. I don't want to be bad. I want to be good. I don't want to be wrong. I want to be right. I don't want to be alone. I just want you to understand that if I tell you, Weenie, I love you, damn it, lady, I mean it. I love you. I'm your father.
The only thing I regret is I didn't get a chance to say, I forgive you for what happened, for leaving us, and I still love you because you're my father anyway. I didn't get a chance to do that. I don't understand that. It's my father. I had a right to say I love you. I had that right. Nobody should have taken that from me.
I think he really missed not having a family, that closeness. Because I think in a way he was looking to find out where he belonged at too, because everything was always his career. So I don't think he ever really set aside time for kids, wives, relationships, girlfriends. When did he ever have time to really sit down and do those things? So I think, closure would have been coming back to the United States, trying to build a relationship with his kids.
I can tell he is dying. I see death in his eyes. Oh yes, I know when he's crying.
They're trying to get all the so-called 57 kids together and have a big party.
'Tis my tears that he cried.
Everybody got a piece of my father, so we're gonna all talk about that, I guess. I resent it. I don't want to share. But I'm going to go, 'cause I'm curious.
Nothing lasts forever. The good comes and the good go. Even the Bible has a passage that says, and this too shall pass. So there's going to be birth, and there's going to be death. There's going to be your death, and there's going to be my death.
Well, today is February the 12th. Jay passed away a year ago today in Paris. We thought that would be a wonderful day to gather as many of the children as we can to do a tribute to him and to remember him on the anniversary of his death.
Well, when I first was told about it, I was really pretty excited. My God, my mom had 13 kids, you know. I have 8 sisters there. Then to know I had 57 more out here that I have no idea who they are, I was pretty excited about meeting them because I feel it's a must-know situation, you know. You got to know who your family is.
Okay, Merle called me. She said, Lee, we're going to meet in Chicago, and I was wondering if you can come. I said, I don't know if I can come. She said, well, think about it. I'm going to call you back because I would really like for you to be there. And then, okay, yeah, that's how I got to my mom. I said, well, she would want me to do this, and he would too. If he had got a chance to talk to me, he would have wanted me to do this.
Well, was thick. The room was warm. She danced by the candlelight. Incense burning, hearts are churning. I know it was all right. She danced my heart, she danced my soul. Loved me 3 times that night. She danced
I'm so tired. I had a horrible bus ride. Everybody was so glad to see me.
Mine was worse than yours. I'm gonna tell you about it.
Oh no, you should see the person I sat next to on the bus.
Oh my God.
Yeah. Oh my God. Deborah. Deborah, she you look just like him. Oh my God. Soon as I saw Debbie, I knew she was my father's child, and I couldn't believe it. And giving her a hug was just as good as hugging my father himself. And I just couldn't believe it. She looked just like I thought she would look. And I was really glad to meet her. Oh my God! Come on, let's go have some fun! Oh, she's ready to have fun now. Shoot!
Oh my goodness.
We're ready to go to bed, girl.
My name is Colette Howard, and I was born in 1953 in Cleveland, Ohio. My mother's name is Mildred Walker, and my father's name is Screamin' Jay Hawkins. And I found out that I was Screamin' Jay Hawkins' daughter when I was 10 years old, and my mother told me one day after school.
Good morning. Good morning. That's Deborah. Hello. This is Suki Leah.
Hi.
They all seem pretty happy and excited. I mean, especially Irene, Carlette. I mean, Suki was kind of happy too, but she had something truly on her mind.
I mean, we all like
Thinking that she's the first child and then realizing all the others, I guess it's a hard task for her to take. So that's why I say she's entitled to feel the way she feels.
Sierra gonna look when she get that in. It's amazing.
Oh,
she is adorable. Oh my goodness.
Cry. Don't do that. You'll make me cry.
I can't reach her. I just, Suki, don't worry about it. Hey, we're together now. Better late than never. And we're gonna have a ball.
If I keep looking at her, I will.
I'm the oldest. Suki's the oldest.
Looking at people crying makes me cry.
47.
And I'm 48. And she's 46.
I just turned 46.
Come here, all our mothers in 1 year. All of our mothers in 1 year. All our mothers in 1 year.
But that means you the baby.
No, wait a minute. Wait a minute.
That means you the baby.
Wait a minute. My brother, how old is Jay? Jay 46. How old are you?
47.
Jay 47.
And I'm 46.
Because I'm 48.
But my God,
Wait a minute.
wasting no
Okay.
time.
Wait a minute. I'll be 50 this October.
Jesus.
So 49, 48, 46, 47.
Stepladder.
He was getting it, wasn't he?
Stepladder.
He was every 9 months. He was getting it. He was getting it. And now the whole world knows.
When I met my sister, Deborah Rowe, in Chicago, she was telling me that she was born in Atlantic City, New Jersey. And when she told me and Suki this, we looked at each other and we said, you know, we were kids out there in Atlantic City, New Jersey.
I remember him taking us to Atlantic City with him. I wasn't even in school yet. I remember my dad having gigs in the local bars around the boardwalk.
I saw him with this woman. She was real pretty, kind of short, maybe about my complexion. And I remember him being with her all the time. in Chicago. Me and Deborah Rowe and my sister Suki, we sat on the bed and we put all the pieces together, and we came up with the fact that that's why we were out there in Atlantic City, New Jersey. My father went to see her mother. To find out when we get older years later, it's like a slap in the face. Oh, there was a lot of tension in the Essex hotel room. What started the tension was Merle was showing some clips of our father doing commercials and clips of him saying certain things that we weren't aware of. She showed a clip of my father's, and if I hadn't seen this clip with my own eyes, I still wouldn't believe it right now. But Merle had a clip of our father saying, yeah, there might be 50 kids, there might be 60, there might even be 75. And then as the clip went on, I remember my father said on it, there may be more than 75 kids because I don't know about the abortions and the miscarriages. And I looked at Suki, Suki looked at me, and then Debbie looked at Merle, then Merle looked at Debbie, and then I looked at Colette, and Colette looked at Suki, and then we was all looking at each other, and things just sort of got out of hand.
Oh my God. 75? A little over 75, he said.
How could he keep track?
Yes.
He just figured the more they were finding him, the more...
So he was just making us and oh my gosh. Jiminy.
There was no shame, self-control, come on.
Yes.
The man was married.
Yes.
The man was married. The women knew. Some of the women knew he was married. Yeah. They didn't care. They just wanted a baby by screaming
A lot
Jay.
of them don't care. There's nothing we can do about that. It's done. It's a done deal. We're here. And there's nothing we can do about it except love one another.
All I can think about is all the fun we're about to have.
That's right.
You know?
That's right.
Good, clean fun.
Yeah, that's good. We're going to have fun, but I'm still going to be entitled to my feelings. I'm not going to camouflage my feelings.
I'm not camouflaging.
I'm going to be for real with my feelings.
I can't wait to read the rest of it.
You entitled to the I ain't no separate. They ain't did nothing to me, and all them other kids ain't did nothing to me. But I was the first, and I ain't never wanted to share. But those feelings I have to deal with. Okay? And y'all just wait until I get it together. Okay? I'm going to get it together.
I'm sure you will.
I'm going to get it together. Okay? But I feel like we was the first three. We got Hawkins. Yeah, my father was married to my mother. I was born Lee Ann Hawkins. That's my name. When your name Irene Hawkins, my brother's name is JaLacey J. Screaming Hawkins, the junior. I got a nephew that's Screaming Jay Hawkins the second. He having a son. He'll probably be the third. And then we got all these other kids. I love the United States. That means Screaming Jay Hawkins, I love the United States. We got to share with all them, even if their mother wasn't married to my father. Why we got to share with them?
We have to accept it whether we want to or not. We're here. There's nothing you, I, or anyone else can do about it. We're here.
I know it. I'm just venting.
She don't want to believe he has all these kids. She keeps saying she's number one when I don't even think she knows for sure if she's number one. You know, there could be someone else out there feel the same way she does. That's number one. You know what I'm saying? But she's entitled to say and feel what she wants. You know, she's entitled to her feelings. She's entitled to her opinion. But I just want them to understand that so am I.
I have a right to my opinion.
Yes, you do. You're entitled to
Okay, y'all can say what y'all want to say.
Yes.
But you know, even me, I still feel really the lone one here because you were with him in his spirit. You were with him. I never got that opportunity. So I just had to look at this stuff.
Right.
Oh my God.
Don't cry.
That's all I get. I don't get nothing. When we're together and they're all talking and saying those things, then I'm quiet because all I have is the fact that my mother said, well, when you were 2 months old, he picked you up. But that wasn't good enough, you know, that I needed more than that, you know, and that's where I find the hardest about this whole situation because everybody has something to say about what they did with our dad, but I don't have anything, so that's the hardest part for me. And then all of a sudden, I had 57 other contenders, and I was really angry.
So how many came to you to let you know that he's their child?
More every day.
More every
I'm
day?
so overwhelmed. But the internet's been on TV since he died, and you're getting more every day?
Maybe people coming forward with it.
You go and give him my number.
They better do a blood test. He ain't got no 57 kids.
I either go to them.
He ain't got 75.
You know, for some of the children that knew that they were his children from birth, such as Leanne, Suki, Irene, and Jalacy, to come to find out that there is more than just them is just an amazing thing to come to grips with.
When I first heard, I was angry, and I went through all these different emotions, and then I had to accept the fact that you got more brothers and sisters. You just better face the truth, girlfriend, okay? I think I'm through. Y'all look all right?
Gold is puffin' palm moles, a bone punched through his nose, snap little for a necklace, and tiger skins for clothes. A voice that's like a cyclone, never was out there. Ain't that a mighty man who fathered 57 kids? We're all just two.
For the last 10 years, I was trying to find my father, and I couldn't find him.
You know, he could come back and stay a while, then leave again.
And the sea's still running wild from Kyoto to the San Francisco Bay.
Leanne Hawkins, also nicknamed Suki, is the eldest daughter. She came out from Cleveland, Ohio. She's just going to thank everybody on behalf of the family.
Hi. Thank you for coming out. Like I told my sisters, nobody's older than me. I'm 50. I don't mind telling it because I don't look it. But I remember when I was 5 years old, and me and my sister sat on the porch, and my dad went to go get some milk, and he never came back. And when you're daddy's little girl, you're daddy's little girl. And I didn't want to share my daddy with nobody. And then I found out I had all these sisters, and I had to share. Because I can look at them and I can tell that these are my father's children. And because I can see the idiosyncrasies, I can see the features. I didn't get a chance to tell my father that I loved him before he died. So I want to give my love to all my sisters. And I want to give my love to everybody that's in this room, because everybody in this room got a piece of my father.
You made me love you. I didn't want to do it. I didn't want to do it. You made me want you. And all the time you knew it. I guess you always knew it. You made me happy sometimes. You made
Cutting Edge is back at the same time next Tuesday. Calling all ER fans, don't miss a double bill tomorrow from 9. And coming up tonight on 4, can a down-to-earth Castleford lass pass for an it girl in London's high society? Faking It next.
I didn't want to tell you. I didn't want to tell you.